that work? Well, no, it doesn't. Let's try. Let's try to put you in the. Or how about you? Uh, yeah. I'm not sure about that. Hurry up, TV. Just check. Um, pretty much. I am now not in my room. I am in the living room. Why do they call it the living room? Is it the room where you live or what? Some random guy comes in your house with a weapon, hits you, but you're in the living room. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, does it? Alright, anyways, I'm now in Isaiah, which is a good thing because we're in Isaiah. Alright, anyways, give me this highlight there because who knows when I'll need it. Alright, like the very beginning of Isaiah's, like the very, very beginning of Isaiah. Alright, so let's just start. Alright, the vision concerning Judah, yeah, and Jerusalem that Isaiah son of Amos saw during the rain. The rain. No, I can't speak now. This isn't good. Reigns. Uzziah, Jotham, Allah, and Ezekiel, kings of Judah, a rebellious nation. Hear me, you heavens. Listen, earth. For the Lord has spoken. I reared children and brought them up, but they have rebelled against me. The ox knows its master, the donkey knows its owner, that's not manager, that's manager. Yeah. But Israel does not know, my people do not understand. Woe to the sinful nation, a people whose guilt is great, a blood, yeah, a blood of evildoers, children given to corruption. They have forsaken the Lord. They have spurned the Holy One of Israel and turned their backs on him. Why should you be beaten anymore? Why do you persist in rebellion? Your whole head is injured, your whole heart afflicted. From the sole of your foot to the top of your head, there is no soundness. Only wounds and welts and open sores, not cleansed or bandaged or soothed with olive oil. Your country is desolate. Yeah. Your cities burned with fire. Your fields are being stripped by foreigners right before you. Laid waste as no, yeah, laid waste as when thrown overthrown by strangers. Daughter Sion is left like a shelter in a yard, like a hut in a cucumber field, like a city under siege. Unless the Lord Almighty had left us some survivors, we would have become like Sodom. We would have been like Gomorrah. Mm. Hear the word of the Lord, you rulers of Sodom. Listen to the instructions of our God. You people of Gor, it's not. Why can't I speak today? You people of Gomorrah, the multitude of your sacrifices, what are they to me? Says the Lord. I have more than enough of burnt offerings, of rams, and the fat of fatted. See that one. Fattened animals. Why am I making this hard on myself? I have no pleasure in the blood of bulls and lambs and goats. When you have come to appear before me, who has asked this of you? This trampling of my courts. Stop bringing meaningless offerings. Your incense is detestable to me. New moons, Sabbaths, and convocations. I cannot bear your worthless assemblies. Your new moon feast and your appointed festivals. I hate all with all my being. They have become a burden to me. I'm weary of bearing them when you spread out your hands in prayer. I hide my eyes from you. Even when you offer many prayers, I am not listening. Your hands are full of blood. Wash them, wash and make yourselves clean. Take your evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Defend the oppressed. Take up the cause of the fatherless. Plead the case of the widow. Come now, let us settle the matter, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlets, they shall be white as snow. Though they are red as crimson, they shall be like wool. If you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good things of the land. But if you resist and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. See how faithful, see how the faithful city has become a prostitute. She once was full of justice, righteousness, used to dwell in her, but now murderers. Your silvers have become dross. Your choice wine is diluted with water. You rulers are rebels, partners with thieves. They all love bribes and chase after gifts. They do not defend the cause of the fatherless. The widow's case does not come before them. Therefore, the Lord Almighty, the Mighty One of Israel, declares, I will vent my wrath on my foes and avenge myself on my enemies. I will turn my hand against you. I will thoroughly purge away your dross and remove all of your impurities. I will restore your leaders as in days of old, your rulers as at the beginning. Afterward, you will be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion will be delivered with justice, her penitent ones with righteousness, but rebels and sinners will both be broken. And those who forsake the Lord will perish. You will be ashamed because of the scarce oaks in which you have delighted. You will be disgraced because of the gardens that you have chosen. You will be like an oak with fading leaves, like a garden without water. The mighty man will become tinder, and his work a spark. Both will burn together with no one to quench the fire. My phone! My phone! No, my phone! This, my phone. Hello, bro. What are you studying? It's not really studying; it's reading. I need a better stand. No, that's not it. That's not gonna do it. Why did my phone decide to do this to me? Let me just try this again. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I finished right at the next chapter. Isaiah 2. Right. The mountain of the Lord. This is what Isaiah, son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as the highest of the mountains. It will be exalted above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many people will come and say, "Come, let us go to the mountain of the Lord, to the temple of the Lord of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his paths. The law will go up from Zion, to the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." What was that? I don't know. He will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many people. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Pruning, that's probably how you say it. Pruning hooks. Where was I? Oh. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will their train, nor will they train for war anymore. Come, descendants of Jacob, let us walk in the light of the Lord. All right, hold on. My phone looks like it's again gonna. I just don't trust this thing. What? I need a very proper stand. Okay. Okay. I just realized I just looked like some like guy behind the wall. I'm just behind the wall. Yeah, now I look more behind the wall. All right. The day of the Lord. You, Lord, have abandoned your people, the descendants of Jacob. They are full in superstitions from the east. They practice divinations like the Philistines and embrace pagan customs. Their land is full of silver and gold. There is no end to their treasures. Their land is full of horses. There is no end to their chariots. Their land is full of idols. They bow down to the work of their hands, to what their fingers have made. So people will be brought low, and everyone humble. Do not forgive them. Go into the rocks, hide in the ground from the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty. The eyes of the arrogant will be humbled, and human pride brought low. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day. The Lord Almighty has a day in store for all the proud and lofty. Yeah, that's definitely what it says. For all that is exalted, and they will be humbled. For all the cedars of Lebanon, tall and lofty, and all the oaks of Bash, Bash, Bashan, Bashan, for all the towering mountains and all the high hills, for the every lofty tower and every fortified wall, for every trading ship and every stately vessel, the arrogance of man will be brought low, and human pride humbled. The Lord alone will be exalted that day, and the idols will totally disappear. People will flee to caves in the rocks and to holes in the ground from the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty. When he rises to shake the earth, and that day people will throw away into the moles and vats their idols of silver and idols of gold, which they made to worship. They will flee into caverns in the rocks and to the overhang crags. For the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty when he rises to shake the earth. Stop trusting in mere humans who have put a breath in their nostrils. Why hold them in esteem? Judgment on Jerusalem and Judah. See now, the Lord Almighty, is about to take from Jerusalem and Judah both supply and support. All supplies the food and all supplies the water, the hero and the warrior, the judge and the prophet, the diviner and the elder, the captain of 50 and the man of rank, the counselor, skilled craftsman, and clever enchanter. I will, I will make mere youths their officials. Children will rule over them. People will oppress each other. Man against man, neighbor against neighbor. The young will rise up against the old, the nobody against the honored. Hmm. What if I just walk on something like, yeah. Cool thing. I could just cover my face, uncover my face. Where was I? I got distracted. I got distracted. Right there. A man will seize one of his brothers in his father's house and say, "You have a cloak. You be our leader. Take charge of this heap of your well, take charge of this heap of ruins." But in that day he will cry out, "I have no remedy. I have no food or clothing in my house. I do not make the leader of the people. Jerusalem staggers, Judah is falling. Their words and deeds are against the Lord, defying his glorious presence. The look of their faces testifies against them. They parade their sins like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to them! They have brought disasters upon themselves. Tell the righteous, it will be well with them, for they will enjoy the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked, disasters upon them. They will be paid back for what their hands have done. You, yo, you, just I speak a lot of English, but I don't speak that much English. You oppress my people. Women rule over them. My people, your guides lead you astray. They turn you from the path. The Lord takes his place in court. He rises to judge the people. The Lord enters into judgment against the elders and leaders of his people. It is you who have ruined my vineyard. The plunder from is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor, declares the Lord Almighty. The Lord says, the women of Sion are haughty. Yeah, that's definitely how you say it. Hoth, it's like naughty, but it's with an H. Haughty. Yeah. Walking along with outstretched necks, flirting with their eyes, strutting along with weighing hips, with ornaments jing, jingling on their ankles. Therefore, the Lord will bring sore on their heads of the women of Sion. The Lord will make their scalps bald. And that day, the Lord will snatch away their finery, the bangles and headbands and crescent necklace, the earrings and bracelets and veils, the headdresses, anklets and sashes, the perfume bottles and charm, the signet rings and nose rings, the fine robes and the capes and cloaks, the purses and mirrors, and the linen garments and tiaras and shawls. Hmm. Instead of fragrance, there will be a sash. Instead of a sash, a rope. Instead of a well dressed hair, baldness. Instead of fine clothing, sackcloth. Instead of beauty, branding. Your men will fall by the sword, your warriors in battle. The gates of Sion will lament and mourn. Destitute, she will sit on the ground. In that day, 7 women will take hold of one man and say, we will eat our own food and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our disgrace. Branch of the Lord. In that day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the land will be the pride. No, yeah, will be the pride and glory of the survivors in Israel. Those who are left in Sion, who remain in Jerusalem, will be called holy. All who are recorded among the living in Jerusalem, the Lord will wash away their filth of the women of Sion. He will cleanse the blood stain from Jerusalem by a spirit of judgment and a spirit, yeah, by a spirit of judgment and a spirit of fire. Then the Lord will create over all of Mount Zion and those who assemble there a cloud of smoke by day and a glow of flaming fire by night. Over everything the glory will be a canopy, canopy, canopy. Yeah, it will be a shelter and shade from the heat of the day, and a refuge and hiding place from the storm and rain. The song of the vineyard. I will sing for the one I love, a song about vineyard. My loved one has a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He dug it up and cleared it off stones. Yeah, okay, I have no idea what happened. Never mind, now I know what happened. I had a yawn. I had a yawn. That's what happened. That's why I stopped for a moment. Where was I? Alright, Isaiah 5. Alright. And planted it with the choicest vines. He built a watchtower in it and cut off a winepress as well. Then he looked for a crop of good grapes, but it yielded only bad fruit. Now you dwellers in Jerusalem and my people of Judah, yeah, and people of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done for my vineyard than I have done for it? When I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad? Now I will tell you what I am going to do to my vineyard. I will take away its hedge, and it will be destroyed. I will break down its walls, and it will be trampled. I will make it a wasteland, either permanent nor cultivated. That wind is quite strong out there, and briars and thorns will grow there. I will command. I need to find a good position here. Wow, it had a crisscross applesauce. I had a yawn again. I have no idea why. Uh, where was I? Oh. And birds and thrones will grow there. I will command the clouds not to rain on it. The vineyard of the Lord Almighty is the nation of Israel, and the people of Judah. Our vines he delighted in, and he looked for justice, but saw bloodshed, for righteousness, but heard cries of distress. Right. Woes and judgment. Woe to you who add house to house, and join field to field, till no space is left, and you live alone in the land. The Lord Almighty has declared in my hearing. Surely the great houses will become desolated. The fine mansions left without occupants, a 10-acre vineyard will produce only a bath of wine. A homer of seed will yield only an F. Hmm. I'm not sure how you say that. Let's see. Of grain. Woe to those who rise woe to those who rise early in the morning to run after their drinks, who stay up late at night till they are inflamed with wine. They have harps and lyres at their banquets, pipes and timbrels, and wine, but they have no regard for the deeds of the Lord, no respect for the work of his hands. Therefore, my people will go into exile for lack of understanding. Those of high ranks will die of hunger, and the common people will be parched with thirst. Therefore, death expands its jaws, opening wide its mouth. Into it will descend their nobles and masses, with all their brawlers and reveler. No, what am I saying today? I am not. Wake up, revelers. So people will be brought low, and everyone humbled. The eyes of the arrogant humbled. But the Lord Almighty will be exalted by his justice, and the holy God will be proved holy by his righteous acts. Then sheep will graze as in their own pastures. Lambs will feed among the ruins of the rich. Woe to those who draw sin along with cords of deceit. Deceit or deceit? Probably both. And wickedness as with cart hopes. Hope. It's ropes. It says ropes. It's not hopes. That's it. That's what the R. How did I get an H? To those who say, let God hurry, let him hasten his work, so we may see it. The plan of the Holy One of Israel, let it approach, let it come into view, so we may know it. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drinks, who acquit the guilty for a bribe, but deny justice to the innocent. Therefore, as tongue of fire lick up straw, and as dry grass sinks down in the flames, so their root will decay and their flowers blown away like dust. For they have rejected the law of the Lord Almighty and sprung the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore, the Lord's anger burns against his people. His hand is raised, and he strikes them down. The mountains shake, and the dead bodies are like refuse in the streets. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still upraised. He lifts up a banner for the distant nations. He whistles for those at the end of the earth. Here they come, swiftly and speedily. Not one of them grows tired or stumbles. Not one slumbers or sleeps. Not a belt is loosened at the waist. Not a sandal strapped is broken. Their arrows are sharp. All their bows are strong. Their horses' hooves seem like flints. Their chariots' wheels are like whirlwind. Their roar is like that of the lion. Their They roar like young lions. They growl as they seize their prey and carry it off with no one to rescue. And that day they will roar over it like the roaring of the sea. And if one looks at the land, there is only darkness and distress. Even the sun will be darkened by clouds. What am I doing? All right. Okay. What is my mind is unclear today. What is going on? I gotta wake up here. Yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna drink water. Maybe that's gonna help me. Drink water, guys. Water's good for you, but don't drink too much water. Okay, that should help. Just gotta make sure. Isaiah 6. Alright, here we go. Isaiah's commission. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were the yeah, okay. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling one another, okay, to one another. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sounds of their voices, the doorpost and the threshold shook, and yeah, and yeah, and the temple was filled with smoke. Woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips. I have lived among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. Then one of the Tepharim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongues from the altar, which with it he touched my mouth and said, "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away from your sin, atoned for." Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." He said, "Go and tell this people, be ever hearing but never understanding. Be ever seeing but never perceiving. Make the heart of the people call it. Call us. This is quite uh, sad for me. Right? Make their eyes dull and close their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. Then I said, "For how long, Lord?" And he answered, "Until the cities lie ruined and without inhabitant, until the houses are left deserted, and the yields ruined and ravaged, until the Lord has set everyone far away, and the land is utterly forsaken. And though a tenth remains in the land, it will again be laid waste. But as the terebinth and oak leave stumps, they are cut down, so the holy seed will be the stump in the land." The signs of Emmanuel. Hold on, let me go to Matthew real quick. Ah, right here. Matthew 1:23. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. Now let's go to Isaiah, and it says the sign of Emmanuel. Yo, it connects, guys, like always. Alright. When Uzzah, son of Hotham, the son of Hosea, was king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, marched up to fight against Jerusalem, but they could not overpower it. Now, the house of David was told, Aram has allied itself with Ephraim. Did I really say Ephraim? F. So the hearts of Uzzah and his people were shaken, as the trees of forests are shaken by the wind. Then the Lord said to Isaiah, go out, you and your son, Jer Ashu, to meet Uzzah and the end of the. I, I could cut. No, that is. Let me check. This is utterly special. Okay. Give me the highlighter. I forgot about it. Where was I? All right. Of the upper pool of on the road to the launderer's field, say to him, be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid. Do not lose heart because of these two smoldering stubs of firewood, because of their fierce anger of Rezin and Aram and the son of Remaliah. Aram, Ephraim, and Remaliah's son have plotted your ruin, saying, let us invade Judah. Let us tear it apart and divide it among ourselves and make it the son of Havel king over it. Yet this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will not take place. I will not, it will not take place. It will not happen. For the head of Iran is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is only Rezin. Within 65 years, Ephraim will be too shattered to be a people. The head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is only Remaliah's son. If you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. Again, the Lord spoke to Uzzah. Ask the Lord your God for a son, whether in the deepest depth or the highest heights. But Uzzah said, I will not ask, I will not put the Lord to test. Then Isaiah said, hear now, you house of David. Is it not enough to try the patience of humans? Will you try the patience of my God also? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give a birth to a son, and he will call him Emmanuel. He will be eating curds and honey when he knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right. For before the boy knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right, the land of two kings you dread will be laid waste. The Lord will bring on you and on your people and on the house of your father a time unlike any since Ephraim broken away from Judah. He will bring the king of Assyria, 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 the Lord's instrument. In that day, the Lord will whistle for flies from the Nile Delta and Egypt, and for bees from the land of Assyria. They will all come and settle in the steep ravines, ravines and in the careers in the rocks. I need to breathe. Okay, I just had a yawn. Alright, where was I? Yeah, right there. In the rocks. On all the thorn bushes and at all the water holes in that day, the Lord will use a razor hired from beyond the Euphrates River, the king of Assyria, to shave your head and private parts and to cut off your beard also. In that day, a person will keep alive a young cow and two goats. And because of the abundance of the milk they give, there will be curd to eat. All who remain in the land will eat curds and honey. In that day, in every place where there are were 1,000 vines worth 1,000 silver shekels, there will only be breeders and, and thorns. Hunters will go there with bow and arrow, for the land will be covered with briars and thorns. As for all the hills once cultivated by the hoe, you will no longer go there for the fear of the briars and thorns. They will become places where cattle are turned loose and where sheep run. The Lord said to me, as I showed last slide. So, the Lord said to me, take a large scroll and write on it with an ordinary pen. Baher, bro, I'm not sleepy. I don't know why I keep yawning. Baher, bus. That is completely wrong. I'm not saying it right. Oh, hi. I'm not saying it right. So I called in. I don't know why that caught attention. So I called in Uriah, the priest, and Zechariah, son of Heberiah, as relatable witnesses for me. Then I made love to the prophetess, and she conceived and gave birth to a son. And the Lord said to me, name him Maher Shabbat Hasbaz. Definitely said it wrong for the second time. For before the boy knows how to say, my father or my mother, the wealth of Damascus and the plunder of Samaria will be carried off by the king of Assyria. The Lord spoke to me again, because this people has rejected the gently flowing waters of Shiloah, and rejoices over Rezin and the son of Remaliah. Therefore, the Lord is about to bring against them the mighty floodwaters of the Euphrates. The king of Assyria, with all his pomp, will overflow all its channels, run over all its banks, and sweep on onto Judah, swirling over it, passing throughout it, and reaching up to the necks. Its outspread wings will cover the breadth of the land. Emmanuel, raise the war cry. Nations and be shattered. Listen, all you distant lands. Prepare for battle and be shattered. Prepare for battle and be shattered. Devise your strategy, but it will be thwarted. Propose your plan, but it will not stand us. For God is with us. This is what the Lord says to me with his strong hand upon me, warning me not to follow the way of this people. Do not call conspiracy everything this people call a conspiracy. Do not fear what they fear. Do not dread it. The Lord Almighty is the one you are to regard as holy. He is the one you are to fear. He is the one you are to dread. He will be a holy place. For both Israel and Judah, he will be a stone that causes people to stumble, a rock that makes them fall. And for all the people of Jerusalem, he will be a trap and a snare. Many of them will stumble. They will fall and be broken. They will be snared and captured. Bind up this testimony of warning and seal up God's instructions among my disciples. I will wait for the Lord, who is hiding his face from the descendants of Jacob. Will put my trust in him. Here I am, the children of the Lord has given me, and the children the Lord has given me. We are signs and symbols of Israel, no, in Israel from the Lord Almighty, who dwells on Mount Zion. The darkness turns into light. When someone tells you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not, should not a people inquire of their God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Consult God's instruction and the testimony of warning. If anyone does not speak accordingly to his words, they have no light of dawn, distress, and hunger. They will roam through the land when they are famished. They will become enraged and, looking upward, will curse their king and their God. Then they will look towards the earth and see only distress and darkness and fearful gloom, and they will thirst into utter darkness. Nevertheless, there will be no more gloom for those who were in distress. In the past, he stumbled the land of. This is a message. All right, hold on. Let me see here. Can I get a hi? Hello. All right. All right. Yeah. Where was I? Uh, right. In the past, he's humbled the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. But in the future, he will honor Galilee of the nation. By the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, the people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living of those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. You have enlarged the nation and increased their joy. They rejoice before you as the people rejoice at the harvest, as warriors rejoice when dividing the plunders. For as in the day of Midian's defeat, you have shattered the yoke that burdens them, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressors. Every warrior's boot used in battle, and every garment rolled in blood will be destined for burning, will be fuel for the fire. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time and forever. He seals, he seals, he seals of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. The seal of the Lord. Yeah. The Lord's anger against Israel. The Lord has sent a message against Jacob. It will fall on Israel. All the people will know it. Ephraim and the inhabitants of Samaria, who say with pride and arrogance of the heart, the bricks have fallen down, but we will rebuild them with dressed stone. The fig trees have been felled, but we will replace them with cedars. But the Lord has strengthened their foes against them, and has spurred their enemies on. Arameans from the east and Philistines from the west have devoured Israel with open mouth. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away, his hand still upraised. But the people have not returned to him who struck him, nor they have sought the Lord Almighty. So the Lord will cut off from Israel both head and tail, both palm branch and reed in a single day. The elders and dig, dignitaries are the head. The prophets who teach lies are the tails. Those who guide this people misleads them, and those who are guided are led astray. Before the Lord will take no pleasure in the young men, nor will he pity the fatherless and widows. For everyone is ungodly and wicked, every mouth speaks folly. Yet for all this his anger is not turned away, his hand is still upraised. Surely wickedness burns like a fire, it consumes briars and thorns. It sets the forest thickens, no, that's not how I say it, thickens, thickens, ablaze, so that it rolls upward in a column of smoke. By the wrath of the Lord Almighty, the land will be scorched, and the people will be fuel for the fire. They will not spare one another. On the right, they will devour, but still be hungry. On the left, they will eat, but not be satisfied. Each will feed on their flesh of their own offspring. Manasseh will feed on Ephraim, and Ephraim on Manasseh. Together they will turn against Judah. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away, his hand is still upraised. Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey and robbing the fatherless. What will you do on the day of reckoning when disasters comes from far afar? To whom will you run to help? Where will you leave your riches? Nothing will remain but to cringe among the captives or fall among the slain. Yet for all this, though his anger is not turned away, his hand is still upraised. God's judgment on Assyria. Woe to the Assyrians, the rod of my anger, and in whose hand is the club of my wrath. I sent him against a godless nation. I dispatched him against a people who anger me, to seize loot and snatch plunders, and to trample them down like mud in the streets. But this is not what he intends. This is not what he has in mind. His purpose is to destroy, to put an end to many nations. Are not my commanders all kings, he says? Has not Cardinals feared like Carchemius? That's Carchemius, I would say. Is not Amath like Arpad, and Samaria like Damascus? as my hand siege the kingdoms of the idols, kingdoms whose images exceed those of Jerusalem and Samaria. I shall not deal with Jerusalem and her images as I dealt with Samaria and her idols. When the Lord has finished all his work against Mount Zion and Jerusalem, he will say, I will punish the king of Assyria for the willful pride of his heart and the haughty looks of his eyes. For he says, by strength of my hand I have done this, and by my wisdom because I have understanding. I removed the boundaries of nations, I plundered their treasures like a mighty one, I subdued their king. As one reaches into a nest, so my hand reaches for the wealth of the nations. As people gather abandoned eggs, so I gathered all the countries. Not one flapped a wing or opened its mouth to chirp. Does the axe raise itself above the person who swings it, or the saw boast against the one who uses it? As if a rod were to wield the person who lifts up, or a club brandish the one who is not wood. Therefore the Lord Almighty, will send will send a wasting disease upon his sturdy warriors. Under his pomp a fire will be kindled like a blazing flame. The light of Israel will become a fire, the Holy One a flame. In a single day it will burn and consume his thorns and his briars. The splendors of his forests and fertile fields will completely destroy as when a sick person wastes away. And the remaining trees of his forest will be so few that a child could write them down. All right, this is going to be the final few verses I'll read. And once I go to Isaiah 11, that's where I'm going to end the live. Okay. The remnant of Israel. In that day, the remnant of Israel, the survivors of Jacob, will no longer rely on him who struck them down, but will truly rely on the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. A remnant will return, a remnant of Jacob will return to the mighty God. Through your people be like the sand by the sand. Israel, only a remnant will return. Destruction has been decreed, overwhelming and righteous. The Lord Almighty, will carry out the destruction decree upon the whole land. Therefore, this is what the Lord Almighty says: my people who live in Zion, do not be afraid of the Syrians. Who beat you with the rod and lift up a club against you, as Egypt did. Very soon my anger against you will end, and my wrath will be directed to their destruction. The Lord Almighty will lash them with the whip, as when he struck down Midian at a rock of Oreb, and he will raise his staff over the waters. It's just as he did in Egypt. In that day, the burden will be lifted from your shoulders, their yoke from your neck. The yoke will be broken because you have grown so fat. They entered Aath. They passed through Migron. They stored supplies at Mikmash. They go over the pass. No, yeah, they go over the pass and say, "We will camp overnight at Geba." Ramah trembles. Gibeah Saul fleets. Cry out, daughter Galim. Listen, Lycia, for Anathoth. Mad Media is in flight. The people of Gibeon take cover. The This day they will hold. I know they will shake their fists at the mount of daughter Sion. What is going on? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This day will be haunted. I know. Hold on. This day will be haunted. I know. They will shake their fist at the mount of daughter Sion. Okay, yeah. At the hill of Jerusalem. See, the Lord Almighty will lop off the bonds with great power. The lofty trees will be felled, the tall ones will be brought low. He will cut down the forest thickets with an axe. Lebanon will fall before the mighty one. Okay, that's where I'm gonna end the stream. Right? Thank you guys for being here. Uh, I'll see y'all next time.